Stigma, as described by the National Mental Health Commission, is a perceived disgrace that sets a person apart. So what do we do to get stigma and the whole issue of acknowledging that mental health symptoms are really the same as any other medical symptoms?
All of you in this room, I can guarantee, have family, friends, loved ones right now who are battling some type of mental illness, whether it be depression, whether it be substance use disorders, alcohol, drug addictions, gambling addictions. Stigma is associated with all of those.
My name is Ituha. It's a Native American name. It means strong as an oak. It took me many years to live up to that name. Addicts, alcoholics, broken buildings. This is what I grew up in. At the age of 8, I had a half-brother who moved in with us, violated my trust, and began to molest me. At the age of 12, I was very angry, went to the therapist. The therapist said I was suffering from depression. He didn't say, young man, you have depression and we can treat this. He says, you have depression. And it was like a period at the end. I turned to drugs. By the age of 16, I got arrested for an armed robbery charge. I was sentenced to 1.5 to 4.5 years. I got out, I went back to my neighborhood, got involved with the same individuals, got back on drugs. 9 months later, back in prison. I'm thinking all the time, New York City's the problem, not me. So I moved from New York to Kalamazoo, but no matter where you go, there you are. I'm a 2-time felon. They won't hire me. All I identify with all my life are these labels: bad, depressed, felon. So the more I stayed with this depression, I tried to treat it with drugs and alcohol, the deeper down the hole I went, and I drew a conclusion one day and I said, you know what? I'm gonna check out. And I sat there and took about 100 pills. I'm in a coma for 3 days. I come out the coma, mad. Why am I still here? Go see the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist took his time to get to know me, began to prescribe meds. Eventually, we got to the right place. The community, all of a sudden, through these trials, I fall in the system and I find out so many resources are right where I live. They began to say, brother, I see this in you, and I see that in you. Their love for me, genuine love. When, in my opinion, I was unlovable, they were there. And for so long, that stigma, the label, depression, I'm not weak. With that kind of thinking, I limit myself from the help that I truly needed. I was so scared to tell somebody that I was abused as a kid. I didn't die. In fact, the opposite happened. I began to feel free. I began to understand that, wow, I need to be transparent with my issues, because only then will they get addressed. I can heal and help someone else.
Number one, public safety crisis in America is persons suffering from mental illness and not being treated. In fact, it's no secret that those incarcerated people, more times than not, are suffering from some type of mental illness. Had they been properly treated, who knows? They would have never ended up there. So now our jails, our prisons are what? Mental health institutions. Now you've got this stigma. You're a felon. You can't get employed. You go to drugs. You commit more crime. So it's a vicious cycle. The stigma. As a police officer, you must always be strong. The stigma of suffering as a police officer is a no option. And as I've listened and as I've sat here, I'm wondering how to overcome that.
We all have those things that we believe stop us from achieving what we should be doing in life, to have that best life. I had to look up the definition of stigma because I don't want to get it wrong. It's a mark or disgrace associated with circumstances, quality, or person. But there's one incident that changed my life. It let me know that education and what Mr. Cloud called transparency, sharing, communicating, understanding, is what it's about. I would put on my makeup before I left the house, do everything I had to do, bank, grocery store, whatever, and then go home with my makeup on, because I didn't want to scare any kids. And my basketball shoes were on the floor, so was my ball. They were right there. So I'm like, I just want to go play ball, man. You know, I've been playing since I was, you know, able to dribble. But what if I go to the gym and the kid is, oh, man, you know? So I'd make up a plan. A man with a plan is a man, right? So if I go to the gym that I always went to where the people saw my face change, then of course they wouldn't be freaked out by my face and they'd be able to explain it to whatever kid was with them. So that was my plan, right? Everything went fine. You know, if somebody didn't want to guard me, I was definitely not wearing makeup. You don't want to get spots, brown spots all over you when you're playing ball, and you don't want to get a brown spot on another dude when you're playing ball. You know, you don't want to think you're dirty. You know what I mean? So 2 months, I would go to the bank. I go to the store that I was going. That was my plan. If people had seen my face change, then they'd be cool with it. Okay, so I'm at the grocery store. I hear a little voice go, "You got a boo-boo?" I froze. I said, "Hi, I have vitiligo. It's 2% of the world population has it. That's 60 million people, but it's not contagious. It's not life-threatening." And she is looking at me like this. And I realize that I'm talking to a 3-year-old. "No, I don't have a boo-boo." I get back down on one knee, and I'm like, "No, I don't have a boo-boo, sweetie. I'm good. Everything's okay. I'm fine." And she reaches out and touches my face and tries to wipe it off. Then she says, "Does it hurt?" And I said, "No, sweetie, I'm fine." That little girl has no idea how much she helped heal a grown man's pain. Because that's education right there. She gave me everything that we all want: compassion, understanding, love.
We have to care about the diseases from the neck up as much as we care about the diseases from the neck down. I mean, nobody's going to say to you, "You got a heart attack? Pull your silly ass up off your bootstrap and get on to work." You know, we have hospitals that sometimes say, "You're too sick, you're too mentally ill to come into our hospital." Come on, really? Can you imagine the same hospital saying, "Whew, that knife wound's too deep. We're not going to stitch that up." As we stand here tonight, my 30-year-old son is in a treatment program, suffering with alcohol problems, low self-esteem sometimes, anxiety disorders. And I said, "Daniel, I love you, man. And the strength that you have to step up and to reach out for help. Don't feel bad about that, feel good." So when we talk about, you know, oftentimes people will say that, you know, there's those people. Those people are our people. At the end of the day, we're talking about someone's mother, father, sister, brother, son, or daughter. Somebody that we love. You see, mental health issues strike everybody. Doesn't matter what zip code you live in, doesn't matter how many degrees you have behind you, whether you're white, black, rural, suburban, urban. It hits us all.